people that join us because there's a couple of people that also also wanted the link. So we'll see if they join right away or they join later. But there's also some people that wanted the recording. So we will send it out to everybody that sent us an email back. And it will be posted in a few places. Kelly's just posting about it, and then we'll have a chat, a spiritual chat. We did have some nice comments on our last podcast, actually. Some people actually got back to us and told us that they really enjoyed listening to it because it helped them with a personal situation that they were having.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Understanding about other people's projections and how being on the receiving end of other people's projections.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure.
Okay. So you're kind of going to monitor our Facebook page, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Just to see if people post questions there.
Yeah. If they post
questions there, or they join us there so that we can.
Yeah, like what I've done for
we can say
panel discussions that I've done.
Yeah, I know. You're good that way. It's nice to have somebody who's a little bit more more techie than me. I've had to learn a lot of things actually, tech wise, but I still don't consider myself a techie person. There are certain things where
in this day and age it's sort of like a necessary evil.
Yeah, I guess so.
I know.
Well, I'm better at it. I mean, I did put together a new website for myself.
Yes, you did.
I did that. I had some technical difficulties this week that I managed to get through.
Well, I mean, yeah.
When you're not used to combining or getting combining platforms, when you've got like one thing here and you got to put it on your website and then you got to do another thing.
Well, especially like widgets and.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to hear that word ever again.
I didn't say anything.
I really don't.
I didn't say anything. What? I heard nothing.
I don't want to hear that word ever again. It became unnecessary actually in the end.
Oh yeah, right.
I didn't even need to know. Yeah. Thank you, Rose. That's nice. Yes, I like to do things that are simple for me, and then hopefully. Why do I have? Okay, I don't know if I want to push on that. I have some kind of notification for something, but I like to do things to make them simple for me because then it's easier for me to navigate. And then I like to be in control of stuff instead of always having someone else do it. I used to do that when I was an author, actually. I had my author website. I had somebody else managing it for a long time.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hello.
So that we can actually see like how many people are actually.
Oh, very nice. Okay, awesome. Good. I'm glad he's monitoring that. I can do the Zoom.
So if you guys have any questions, any questions,
write them down.
Write them down.
I think today, because it's the summer solstice and the summer is all about, well, I mean, it's cloudy here today again. Supposed to be this week, the longest day of the year and sunny and, the most light that we get. And
it's cloudy.
Yeah.
And it's cloudy.
But hopefully we'll get some, at least it's warm. But the summer solstice, the energies that are coming in are to help you to clear out old energy, to feel energized, renew yourself. I mean, that's kind of with summer in particular, is that we want to feel like we're more alive because we're outside more, especially where we live in Canada with the
well, and then the spring or the summer solstice, the spring solstice is
equinox is the spring.
Is it? Oh, yes. It's the equinox. We already did
that.
Yeah. So
So this is the summer solstice.
Summer solstice.
I know the energy's just changing all the time.
I literally felt like someone was like pressing on my head today, all day today.
Yeah, the last couple of days for me have been I've been very teary-eyed. I've had a lot of stuff clearing out. I can talk about a personal experience that I had in the last today was I slept weird on my shoulder. And it's actually much better today, but it'd been bothering me. And the funny thing is about the pain is it's not constant. It will kind of sort of rise into a crescendo and kind of want me to pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll go, okay, what's the message? And earlier today when I was doing something and it happened again, I heard some of my guides that said to me, well, are you going to surrender this pain to us or are you going to keep carrying it? And I went, well, I don't want to keep carrying it.
Hmm.
I do want to let it go. So I know there's been a lot for me that it's come up because my youngest one's graduating high school and my second youngest just got her driver's license. So there's been a lot of life changes. So you'll notice that maybe right now, with a lot of the energies changing, there's a lot of things that are you might be purging from your body, or like old emotional energy that's coming out, old memories, even like things you haven't thought about in a really long time, that all of a sudden they're on your mind. And that's what these celestial events can be about, but also because the earth is changing as well. And so there's a lot of energy that's just changing all the time. So for me, there's been a lot of emotional purging, and that was the thing for me this week. Is there was a lot, like I would went around my youngest daughter yesterday, and every time I'd get around her, I just wanted to cry. And so whatever it was, there's a lot of it that was being brought out. She was the one triggering it, not because she said anything in particular. It was just her energy and the fact that she's changing to such a wonderful young woman and
Maturing.
maturing and all of these beautiful things. And so there's a lot of things where, as a mother in particular, that I needed to let go of some of the protectiveness that I've had over her and some of and my other kids for that matter.
Yep.
And so there's you can be holding on to those kinds of energies because you need them for a long time, or you feel like you do when your kids are growing or you're in different phases of your life. And and then you don't need to do that anymore. And you can use your energy for other things. So that means you have to let that go. So
Letting go also means you have to grieve the old
mhm,
spaces. You letting go means that you have to feel the information in the body that you've carried, that you've used to support the old space. And letting go is, not just, oh, I'm in a new space, I can let go. I don't have to think about all that other stuff anymore. When you've carried a space for a really long
mhm,
time, it
yeah.
physically you have to let your body know, let your mind know that you can step into the new space by letting yourself feel the old space and feel the contrast. And oftentimes it can be a huge dichotomy. It can be a huge contrast where the feelings in the body of the old space are
Mhm,
heavy, are more dense, or they have, memories that are, both, happy and sad. But moving into a new space, actually embodying a new space, requires you to create space for the new space.
yes.
And when we are creating a new space, we have to let go of the old space. And the way that we do this is through feeling. I mean, you can only grieve and heal through feeling. You can't think yourself going, okay, I'm healed now. I mean, as nice as that
Mhm,
would be, you have to let yourself process through and digest the old space in relation to the new world that you're creating for yourself, the new
mhm,
feelings, the new concepts, the new thought forms, and the new ways that you are looking at things, the new perspectives, the new ways of feeling about stuff. Where, I mean, you as a
mhm,
mom
yeah.
of four kids, and us living together and us working to support those four kids, for me, it wasn't something that I had planned,
Mhm,
but it has been an absolute privilege to witness the kids grow and mature and get stronger and settle into themselves. And it's been an absolute privilege to support them in their process, growing pains and all.
yeah. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. There's always growing pains, and it depends how you want to look at life. Like in particular, pain, any kind, emotional pain or physical pain, it's can be painful.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it can hurt. And but it does it what does it stop you from doing? Because the pain is there as a reminder, because it doesn't want you to repeat something. But
Yeah.
often because we hold on to the pain, we do end up repeating things
Yep.
because we're holding on to it. And we don't do it on purpose. No one ever does it on purpose. I would hope that people are not hurting themselves on
Yeah.
purpose.
Well,
I know I didn't hurt myself on purpose, but then when you realize that you're hurting yourself, it's, you can feel almost devastated, like, oh my gosh, why would I do that to myself? But
Yeah.
you're not, you, until you know that you're doing it, you can't change it.
And one of the big tools that is missing in modern society is the cultural habit of self-reflection. I mean, before the Industrial Revolution, we had, whole regional cultural events of honoring the sequences and the actual spaces of moving through, the solar cycle, the lunar cycle,
Hmm.
where people in community in a village would come together in community and would talk about and reflect on the year. And generally this is what the solstice and
Oh,
oh
we do
oh
have a
we do have a
question.
question
Yeah,
from Cheryl
but you
Smith.
can finish what you were saying. Yeah.
So before the Industrial Revolution pulled everyone out of the village and pulled everyone into the industries in the city, the way that people had for thousands of years reflected on the solar and lunar cycles was something that it's still there in our society. Nowadays we have very specific celebrations around certain times of the year, but we used to, as humans, come together and honor the lunar and solar cycles very specifically, very overtly, with ritual, with um communication, with either talking about, like, here we are, summer solstice. I mean, the summer solstice is right at the beginning of the planting season. So, or people going out on migration to go and hunt, go to the hunting grounds for the summer. So there are old patterns of behavior that at a cellular level still affect us because, well, we're human, and cellular memory is a real thing. There are scientific studies to prove it. Um,
Well, we talked about that too in our last workshop, how there are four different sort of energy levels on the physical plane, and one of
yep,
them is your etheric field, which is just above your skin,
yep,
and it's attached to your energetically attached to the fascia in your body, and it stores memories.
yep.
It stores memories of your events, of your, probably
Well, you're this
your what was the
disembodiment,
word I was going to say? Yeah, that
disembodiment, past
that's
embodiment.
right. There we go. That's what I was going to say. Past lives. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's sort of like one of the things that we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about embodiment an awful lot,
Yes.
and spiritual embodiment specifically, where
Hmm.
the body is actually the vehicle through which we experience our spiritual evolution. A lot of misinterpretation has happened in the last 100 years of a lot of the Eastern practices. Even the old ancient European practices have gotten caught in the mental game of figuring out the magic bullet, of mentally analyzing, what's the magic word, or what's the magic, ritual or sequence of manifesting, the dream life that people want. And people are looking for that magic bullet. I mean, it's part of the problem in Western societies. Like, people think it's evolution is, especially spiritual evolution, you can read a book and you can have it all figured out in a weekend. And of course, that is proving to not be true. And people are realizing this, and people are looking. And the ancient paths of embodiment, of spiritual evolution, all talk about how the physical body is the key, the main toolbox, and the doorway for everything, because all of your information is in your physical body.
Hmm.
All right. So
Do you want to answer that question
Cheryl's
first?
question
Sure.
is how did we meet?
How did we meet? Good
It's
question.
Friday night.
Yes, it was a Friday.
It was at the
It was a
Winnipeg Free
February
Press.
8th.
It's February 8th.
I know that because it was an event that I hosted.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was at the Winnipeg Free Press Club downtown.
Yes, I was hosting an author event with two other local authors. It was in the, how long ago? About a decade ago? 10, 12
Yeah,
years ago now?
yeah, about 12 years ago now. Uh,
Yeah, I guess it would be 12 years because maybe I met you in 2012
Something like
or
that.
something like that. Yeah.
something like that.
So he just showed up. He saw
I
the
worked there,
event
but
on Facebook and then
yep,
he just showed up
and
that
it was
night. And then
something to do that night. Yeah, it
our
was.
conversation, I think at that time centered around pie and pierogies. If I
Well, it's
because
like,
we talked about traveling a lot with your dad and your grandpa and how you'd stop in small towns, and
yep,
small towns usually had, they're
pie
known
and
for something, right? When you go to the
especially
local restaurant.
Manitoba, especially Manitoba is
Yeah, Manitoba's
almost
small
always
towns
guaranteed.
usually
Yeah,
known for something.
no, almost always
Because we
guaranteed.
grew up in Albany. I grew up in Enola.
Yep,
So, and we traveled a lot, road trips mostly with my family.
yep,
And you did a lot of road trips. So that
yes,
was our conversation that night.
yep,
Then afterwards, we got on to the first time we went out. I think we talked a lot about spirituality.
yep. Yeah, as well, we
Yeah.
followed you on Facebook, and
Yeah.
a lot of the posts that you were making were about, the work that you're doing, the mental, emotional, the healing work that you're doing for yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and things that you're going through.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh,
And then
hey,
he started talking to me about things, and I went, he knows a lot of stuff, and I want to know. And then because
yeah.
you said that,
I'm like, okay,
yeah.
how much,
How
how
much
much
you want
time
to
you
know?
got? Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It was,
Well, and then, as our friendship and relationship evolved, it's been a challenge because you have to learn how to be uncomfortable, or learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable,
mhm,
because you get challenged.
yep,
And I knew for myself, because I had just gone through a divorce, was that I really wanted to heal. So it didn't matter to me. Like every relationship or friendship that I had for me was about healing. So I was learning about how to be emotionally triggered and how to be okay being emotionally triggered, because
yeah.
people are going to trigger you, and they may not mean to do it. They might mean to do it if they're, we don't know.
Well,
Sometimes they do it on purpose.
sometimes when spirit
Um,
moves, when
yeah.
you have an
Mhm.
alignment of spirit, when you have an alignment of the
Yeah.
heart, when your body is ready to share information,
Yeah.
like through when spirit is ready to share information through
Yeah.
you.
Well, there's a lot of times where you would say something that was very similar to something that like my ex-husband would have said
Yeah,
during our marriage, and it would make me go, "What?" And he would not know why he said that,
yeah,
or where that would come from, because it wouldn't be something that he would normally say.
hmm,
But that's just how you and I work together, is that we'll kind of trigger that in each other. And it's sort of because energetically your body understands, your energy understands that the other person's ready to let go of something.
yep.
And so then you get triggered, and then it get brought about really good opportunities for us to talk about why I was triggered. I've triggered you too, though, over
Oh,
the
yeah,
years.
yep,
Yeah. And learning how to, because for us too, like anger was a huge thing for us. Like I didn't feel like I didn't like being angry or having anger. So I was always trying to pretend that I wasn't. And I think a lot of people do that
yeah,
because nobody wants to be an angry person. Nobody wants to, spew their anger all over the place. Sometimes we project anger, like we've talked about projection a
mhm.
lot. And people, when they project their anger, often feel that that's a way of getting rid of it, but it actually doesn't. It just keeps the
Yeah,
cycle
yeah.
going.
It cycles when you project outward.
Yeah.
It
So
just keeps
anger
going.
for us was a huge one, that we both wanted to be comfortable being, like, that I could express being angry about
Well,
something.
being safe to
Yeah.
feel the anger, being safe
Yeah.
to express about the anger,
Hmm.
being safe to talk about and have a conversation about what the trigger was, or that you were triggered, or that we were triggered,
Yeah.
that
Well,
so
people have actually asked us if we argue. And we don't, and generally, no, we don't. But there have been times where, like, I won't lie and say that we've never raised our voice at each other,
no.
but we haven't, there's a difference between like it's the words that you use and the way that you say it.
And the energy behind them, the energy behind them, how the
Yeah.
energy
Hmm.
is actually used, whether or not it's actually projected at the person, or
Yeah.
whether or not it's actually contained and kept inside, and it's just the
Yeah.
word. So there's a big difference,
Yeah.
big
There's a
difference.
huge difference,
Yeah.
because there's times where I personally have been triggered and I feel a lot of anger come out. So physically I would feel shaky because I'm like, shaking with anger. And, just being able to stand there while I feel angry and actually just say what triggered me
Yeah.
to feel angry.
Yeah.
It was such an important tool to learn, and it's something that we try to teach to people because you're never not going to feel upset in any relationship or any friendship, but you can't make the other person responsible for it.
No, you
Like,
can't.
even though he might have said something that triggered me, I'm responsible for how I feel.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah.
Now, if I thought he was being kind of a jerk, well, okay, that's
Then
different.
there,
But
there's a
but
very
there's a very,
huge
yeah,
difference
it's
between
very
being
different.
malicious and
Yeah.
deliberately
Mhm.
malicious towards someone
Yeah.
else and being caught in a pattern.
Well, and there's a huge difference between, like, let's say you accusing me of something and being angry or upset because you thought I did something instead of asking me about it. And,
And having a
and
conversation.
having a
Yeah.
conversation,
Yeah. Like,
because you can be triggered to feel angry, but still have a conversation.
yep.
And we learned that we want it actually,
You can be
you can learn
heard.
how to do this
Yep.
yourself if you want to read, what is it, Marshall Rosenberg?
Yes.
Uh,
Nonviolent communication.
Nonviolent communication, because
Marshall
it really
Rosenberg.
changed the way I talk to myself inside. And then it helped when I was triggered to feel angry, how I could talk to another person. Because then I could still feel angry and be okay with feeling angry, but I wasn't projecting it at someone. I wasn't trying to make someone else responsible for it. I wasn't, you know,
And most of the times that is the main thing that people do when they're angry is they want someone else to be responsible
yeah.
for their pain, for their anger, for their behavior. And it's not very common knowledge. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there on the ego these days. And understanding the ego is great, but also actually even better is having tools to understand how you are hijacked, how your ego hijacks you, how your shadow hijacks you, how your patterns, how your stories will hijack you
Hmm.
without you even knowing it. And this is why the body is so important to understand, so important to listen to and connect with all the time, every day, as often as possible, taking the time
Hmm.
to reflect, go inside when
Well, and also taking a step back,
yes.
because I know there were times where you would say something, and it happens where you're busy and who doesn't get busy, and you shoot off a text to someone
Yep.
and there's not a lot of context and the tone, it's hard to tell the tone, but you can trigger someone to feel upset. And that was the thing for me, and you too, was to take a step back and go, whoa, what you just texted there really triggered me. This is how I'm feeling. I want to go over here and deal with this feeling, because a lot of times when I was triggered to feel the feeling, I knew that it came from somewhere else.
Yep.
Like, I knew that
Right.
I had this response because of something that happened to me in the past. So if you understand that your responses are learned responses and you want to change your responses to things,
Yep.
it doesn't mean you're never going to get angry. It
Yep.
mean or feel any emotion, because really that's what we're here to do, is to feel the whole gamut of emotions, because the beings in other dimensions, because we're multidimensional,
Mm-hmm.
are learning from our
Us.
feelings, and
Yeah.
they're learning from
Yep.
us. So it's important that we learn how to deal with things, not just from our shadow and ego, but to actually take a step back and say, oh, okay, I need to deal with this because I recognize this feeling, not feeling good, and I'll talk to you later. And then also not taking it personally that when the other person needs to take a step back, you know,
Yeah, no, yeah, like
right?
when the
Because
other
that
person is
the other thing.
processing or
Yeah.
digesting or is triggered and needs some
Yeah.
space, like not taking it personally.
Mhm.
And when
Because
you
I was confident in our friendship when we first met that even if I didn't talk to you for like 3 days because I needed to process or
yeah,
because I was busy, it didn't mean I was never going to talk to him again.
yeah.
But I think there's a lot of fear around communication, that if we don't try to fix something right away, or, you know,
Or if the communication doesn't fit into our story,
yeah, right.
right? Most
Because we can
often
tell ourselves stories about
we can
that
tell
too.
ourselves stories, we can make a decision about a situation based on a story and not the truth, and not understand why things are going the way they are, because we're not aware of the story that's the actual motivator, that's the actual origin point of our behavior. And oftentimes people are completely unconscious of how they're acting from a story and how they are using other people to recreate that story, whether or not
Mm,
it's,
yeah.
in relationships or with friends or with family. Um, it takes some practice to get comfortable seeing the stories and seeing the patterns of behavior. And I mean, that's really the big secret. It just takes practice.
Mhm.
But you first have to accept that there are stories that you are operating from.
Yeah. We have more. What do you do when an old pattern? Okay, you want to read that one?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is from April. Hi, April.
Hello.
What do you do when an old pattern neural network wakes back up? An old pattern you thought you rewired comes back after several triggers.
That's a great question.
Good
Thank you.
question.
Thank you for asking.
Um, you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
Um, in the healing process, it's when you have uh dealt with something to a certain, comfort level. When you get to a new level of awareness, oftentimes big key patterns, core patterns, will seemingly wake back up because you actually have space to dig deeper and get closer to the foundation of that origin point of that pattern. Our nervous systems are wired with our stories. Our nervous systems are wired with the information that is in our bodies. I mean, this is why it's so important to understand our bodies and listen to our bodies. When an old pattern wakes back up, it's really not that. I mean, there's a few things that could be going on. You could have actually gotten rid of and ended one pattern, and then what's going on is your shadow is pulling something back up to the conscious level, trying to reboot it because it's losing control. When your shadow and your ego have lost access to one way to feed and to fuel stories and drama in your life and the monkey mind, ego and shadow will quite often pull something old back up to the surface, A, to try and rehash it, or or B, because it was never fully extinguished in the first place. And your shadow has quietly hidden it away in a place, and gone dormant and gone super quiet about that because you did put so much time and effort into getting rid of, the top layers of it, and you haven't quite gotten down to the bedrock foundation of that pattern. Um, eh,
Yeah, because sometimes your shadow, like when you've moved into a new space, like I know with my shadow, it's if I have an old story come up that I know that I've worked on it, I find for myself, it's usually because there's something else that I'm about to see
yep,
or I'm about to
yep,
release. And my shadow's like, oh, we don't want to know. We don't want her to
yep,
know about that
yep,
because that's like another layer.
yep,
And I would rather that she focus on this old story.
yep,
And I'm like, so I know that if it's an old story and it's like come up again, it's either like he said, it's another layer, or it's because you're about to let go of something else that's
yep,
brand new
yep.
and move yourself really into
A new level.
another a new level.
Yep.
And it's trying to resurrect the old, like, oh no, 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 this is the shiny thing. Look over
Yes, yes.
here. And then if you look underneath, you're like, oh wait, it's not even about that at
Yep,
all. It's
yep.
something, it could be something different
A lot of the times it's your
sometimes.
shadow. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
your shadow trying to hide the fact that you are
Yeah.
moving into a new space, and it's trying to cause self-doubt.
Trying to make you think that you're not getting
Yep.
anywhere.
Yep. Because this is the
It's
last thing
tricky.
your shadow and
It's
ego want
tricky.
is for you to actually make any progress and get yourself out of the pattern. So it will bring something up that seems to be old, but it's actually just an old echo or residue of an old pattern. And your shadow knows how to push your buttons. It never
Yeah.
sleeps.
Yeah.
Energy never sleeps. Your
Yeah.
shadow and
True.
ego never do.
Yeah.
So if an old pattern is coming back up, it's, again, for a variety of reasons, because, A, you have actually made progress and your shadow is trying to keep you from seeing that. B, you've actually gotten to a new level, and that new space means that your nervous system has to expunge and expel the old pattern. So it has to come back up for you to actually observe it, witness it, and go, oh no, this really isn't me, and I really am not in this pattern anymore. So this is not who I am. And it's really important to, when an old pattern comes up and you know it's not you, it's important to embrace the learning experience as much as it can, suck and be completely uncomfortable and unpleasant, to get triggered by an old pattern that you thought you had dealt with. uh Witness it and say, I am okay accepting this information so that I can heal. This is not who I am anymore. I am okay accepting that this is not who I am anymore. And it's just kind
Yeah,
of,
because the shadow is something to be integrated.
yep,
It's not something that we want to
reject.
reject,
Yeah,
and you can't really eradicate it.
no,
You're here with it. You're born onto the physical plane.
yeah,
And that's
with
why,
all the feelings.
with all the
All
feelings,
the
and that's like we were saying about being multidimensional, is that there are other beings that are watching because they want to know how you're integrating your shadow, because it's information that goes back to these other beings, that goes back to source,
Yep.
so that well, most of the things that are happening here on the planet, like this is a whole other thing that we could do,
Yep.
but that it doesn't happen in other places. Like this is a place of learning.
Yeah.
And it's not a place of learning that you come back here to be punished over and over again because you haven't learned from the last time. It's that if you are here, you've chosen to come back here again because you want to learn more.
Yep.
That's the thing. You want to learn deeper. And I think there's a misconception that goes around a lot in spiritual communities, because I know I've seen it on a lot of videos too, where people are like, oh no, I want to leave here, I don't want to be here anymore, and oh, I'm so tired. And it's like, well,
I want to ascend to the
what's your
5D so I
mind
can,
doing?
yeah.
Yeah, what's your mind doing? Because if those are the things that you have, that you want to escape, or that you don't want to be here, it's like, well, okay, but that's a symptom of things that you don't want to let go of,
Or
right?
don't want to
And
look.
or how do you look at it? Because you are here, you are
Yep.
alive here, and I would rather embrace my life
Yep.
and embrace the learning, because and to understand that my learning here is important, not only for me, but for the other people physically in my life, but for other people, my spirit guides and people that are watching over me, because they're learning from me too.
The Earth, being here on this planet, anyone who is on this planet is an advanced soul. This is an advanced school of transmutation. The planet is a school of transmutation.
Yeah, I'm
The
just looking. Okay. Yeah.
the reality is that people get, like, the catchword right now, or the catchphrase right now, is ascension. And people are fixated on ascension and, leveling up and getting all this, this dream life that they wanted through the ascension process. And it's not actually ascension that we're here to do. We're here to learn transmutation. Every time you choose to transmute a pattern, transmute and change and claim your power by pulling away from shadow patterns, rewiring shadow patterns, healing ego patterns. Every single time you do that, you are transmuting something. Every single time, even if it doesn't seem like you're making progress, every single time you choose transmutation and integration instead of wallowing in a pattern, you are healing and you are leveling up. Every time you do that, you level up in your ascension process, in your spiritual evolution. Ascension is just another fancy term and concept for spiritual evolution. And again, it is one of those terms that has been used for a really, really, really long time, like the term enlightenment. And people get so enamored by the glamour of enlightenment and ascension and all the bells and whistles and the shiny things, because the things that they haven't had in their life, or the way that they feel they haven't been able to level up, and so they want to, which is great, but you have to understand the whys behind everything. And whether or not it's an ego why, whether or not it's a shadow why, whether or not it's an actual heart why, whether or not it's an actual spirit, soul level why. There are so many reasons why people come in and out of our lives, because we're always looking for that next way to level up, to learn more capacity for transmutation, to become stronger and stronger. And again, every single time you choose to not accept fear, every single time you choose to accept that you are more than your fear, more than your patterns, every single time you choose to transmute and heal, you are leveling up. The concept of enlightenment is something that came from the East. The whole concept of enlightenment, with the baseline of Buddha as the primary example of enlightenment. And it's just a word bringing light into our lives, bringing light into our awareness. And so basically stepping out of darkness. And what do you do when you're stepping out of darkness? You're transmuting. You're choosing not to be in darkness. You're choosing to be awake. You're choosing to be aware. But the way that you do that, the way that you choose and understand that choice, is through discipline. And you need discipline. You need to feel safe, feeling everything in the body. You're feeling your feelings, feeling your thoughts, even the absolutely horrible, angry thoughts and stuff like that.
Well, and that's part of it, is not to never have any thoughts that are not awful.
Yeah.
Because understanding that when you have a thought comes up that seems judgmental,
Yep.
and you choose not to express it, but you choose to ask yourself where that came from, that's an act of transmutation, because you're not actually putting it out and expressing it into the world. Sometimes we pick up on other people's projections and we think those are our thoughts, because other people can project their thoughts and you can actually hear those, and sometimes you think that they're yours.
Yep.
So that's why it's good to question it when you have a thought that seems really judgmental, because it's not that we're never going to have judgmental thoughts. I mean, the more work you do, the less judgmental and more compassionate
More
you do
acceptance.
become, and the more accepting you are of yourself, the more accepting that you are of other people.
Yep.
So, but it's to know that you have those parts, that you have the ability to, oh, I have that thought and I don't like it, and I'm choosing not to act on it, and I'm choosing not to do it, and I'm choosing not to put it out into the world. And that's part of the whole transmutation process. So transmutation, because we were talking about that, the actual definition: the action of changing or the state of being changed into another form. And I love that. I love that we're here to transform. I love that we're here to transmute.
Yep.
To me, that's such a beautiful thing, that we're all like, we're born here, but we're all kind of like these little butterflies in a cocoon of shadow that we don't even know. And
Yep.
then we get taught all this other shadow stuff from people, and we get to open the layers
Yep.
and become more of who we are.
Yep.
I think it's beautiful.
Yep.
And I think when we take that attitude that our life is beautiful, even if it doesn't feel completely beautiful in the moment, because
Yeah.
sometimes you have to embrace that it sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like wallow in it and be like, telling yourself that your life sucks, but
we're not
that's
Marines.
how
We're
it
not going to embrace the suck.
yeah,
It's like, there's like, that's not what we're talking about.
but it's also that there is work. Like
Yeah.
it can be work, but it doesn't mean that the work is also not beautiful, that the hard work is not beautiful, that in the end, like if you're trying to get into shape, everybody who's ever tried to
Yeah.
get into shape after, and I know that's something that after my surgeries I'm still trying to do, is that I have to embrace every day that it's not always easy.
Yep.
That it's not always easy, that today I'm able to do this and then tomorrow and it's like, but it's a process.
Yep.
Your growth, whether it's emotionally or physically, is a process, and it can be such a beautiful process. Even when you're crying.
Yeah. And this goes to, again, feeling safe in our own bodies, feeling safe after trauma, after negative events and situations and experiences. Feeling safe in our bodies is so incredibly important. And this is where the concept of self-love really comes in, where feeding ourselves, sleep is important, um, and exercising even a little bit, doing something to engage yourself physically on a daily basis or an every other day basis, as often as possible, to come inside the body, to look inside, to go inside, and to accept that you are okay, accept the information of what you're feeling, and to understand that that is the process, is the acceptance of self. And everything that anyone has been through has been to show them how strong they are. When you really understand that everything in your life, even all the horrible stuff, is actually there to reflect, it's the how strong you actually are, that you're here, even with all that horrible, negative, painful, events or situations that you've been through. It is really important to recognize your own strength. And again, going back to, being born on this planet means that you are an advanced soul, means that you are incredibly strong. And to understand that you are your strength and not your pain is one of the ways to really flip the script in terms of how we feel safe, how to feel safe in our bodies. To understand it's like, okay, you're feeling pain, but you're not your pain. Doesn't mean the pain goes away. We're not talking about, toxic positive, positive vibes only type of toxicity. I'm actually talking about just accepting. It's okay. It's okay that you feel pain. You are okay, even if you are in pain. You are okay because you are not that pain. Your body is just registering the information. And that's the process, is to register the information.
Well, man, I think that's something that I went through a few days ago too, was with some physical pain that I had come up because I was around certain people and it was triggered. And I just kept telling myself, I am okay.
Yep.
I am okay. I am okay. And I think even that night, like you said to me that you looked at me and you go, I just want you to be okay.
Yeah.
And I started bawling. I lost it because I think it had been, as a single mom for a long time, I think it was just that combination of words that I don't know that I'd heard anybody say. And if they have, it's been a really long time.
Yep.
Like I just, that you also wanted me to be okay. And I was like, I am
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
But I was like, wow. And just that it was, yeah. So that helped me release a lot of stuff. Would you have
So
something else to?
April has a question.
Okay. Uh-oh. His voice is going in the
My
basement.
my voice
Okay.
is starting to, I'm starting the channel here, so this is what happens when
When he starts to,
it's
yeah.
such a chat.
Okay.
Um, while you are in the process, how do you know you are still supported or that the universe has your back?
Mm.
Great question. And it's important to understand that doubt is something that ego and shadow use. So if you are feeling any doubt that you are supported or that the universe has your back, that is just a shadow story to distract you from the fact that you are supported. The last thing your ego and shadow want you to understand is that the universe, your guides, your guardian angels always have your back. The universe is always supportive of those who are choosing to move forward, always supportive of us on this planet, period. Regardless of what state we are in, it doesn't matter. The universe always has your back. The hierarchies of light are not here on a picnic. The cherubim and seraphim are not here on holiday. This planet was built, this whole solar system was built as an alchemical process to condense information and to bring all of that information into the physical reality through the physical bodies that we are embodied in. So you have all of the hierarchies of light, all of the universe cheering for you all the time. They never sleep. They are always working to your benefit. When doubt arises, the most important thing that I've ever done is to call upon my guides and guardians, and to reconnect with them is to and to accept. And sometimes when we have had patterns of doubting ourselves, of doubting that process, it can seem daunting to accept that the support is there, especially if we have been on the receiving end of a lot of negative verbal, mental, emotional, or even physical abuse. It is really hard to sometimes accept that the universe actually has our back, but our guides and our guardians, and even our loved ones who are on the other side, are always cheering for us, are always there waiting to be asked to come in and support us and support our process. And all we have to do is ask. And sometimes we forget. Sometimes we get wrapped up in the process, and we get wrapped up in feeling the negative because the negative is coming up because it's time to heal it.
That, and I was gonna say that's something that I used to struggle with a lot was faith. I was wondering if you were gonna say the word because he used to say that to me all the time was about faith,
Oh,
about having faith.
faith.
And I struggled with that a lot because there was just so much that I oh, how do I even explain this? When you spend years in a sort of in a heightened state of anxiety where you're just worried about everything all the time,
Yep.
and it was something that I learned to how to be that way, and you're systematically trying to relax your nervous system, it doesn't feel normal to have faith.
Nope.
You feel that you always have to worry about something, and I had a really hard time calling on my guides or even acknowledging that they were around me to help me. It took me a while and of constantly doing it because I couldn't feel them at first. And now it's like today, I went outside to do something and I was like, wow, okay, like why is I forget if it was pain or what it was, but
Your body.
they were I could hear them. They were like, "Are you going to let us help you get rid of this pain? Are you going to help us let us help you take it away?"
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, they're actually waiting for me to sit down and like
And ask.
and ask
Yep.
and give it to them." I was like, "Oh, well, yes, of course. I want you to do that."
Yep.
And it helped a lot. But faith is something that we have to remember that our subconscious or all these other well, it has different names because we do have different energy fields,
Yep.
but there's a part of us that is paying attention to about a million things at once. Our conscious mind can't do that. It's
Our
like this much.
conscious mental
All right,
mind
yeah.
is only aware of a
So
sliver of reality.
when you start to feel like you have doubts, it's to acknowledge. I'm going to try to give a process as
Sure.
short and sweet
Yep.
as I can. The sort of a process that I use is that because I still have doubts like today because there's just so much going on in the next couple of weeks with my family. I'm like, I had some old doubts come up. So what I do is I acknowledge them. I'm like, oh, okay, those are just things I have to do. I don't have to be anxious about them.
Yep.
I don't have to worry.
Yep.
I'm taken care of. I'm fine. And that's not whitewashing it because I know that it's an old story. It's an old shadow thing that's
Yep.
trying to make me feel this way because there's so much in my life that's changing.
Yep.
And it's changing in such a beautiful way. But that's what our shadow does. It's like,
Yep.
oh, are you sure you want your life to be that way? Are you sure you want your life to? I don't know. Throw some doubts in there. We'll sprinkle them on top of all the other stuff. So what I consciously do is I stop and I acknowledge it. And I'm like, okay, that's an old story. It doesn't belong here. And then I will actually say something to myself. If it's about my physical body, I will say, my body is returning to perfect health. My body, every cell in my body is rejuvenating. If it has to do with my health, if it has to do with finances, I will say something that I am divinely taken care of. Like it's to acknowledge it, but also then to replace, because the more consciously you start to replace those other thoughts with something else, and it's not just like positive affirmation, it's a little bit different where you really say it to yourself and you do it over and over because you need to replace those other things, because you have to get the
Yep.
other
You need to build up
parts
the
of
energy.
you that are listening. You have to build the momentum with the energy, because there's so many parts of you that are listening on different levels, but they're listening to the old stories. So you have to give them new stories. So it's also, I do a lot of visualization. So for example, I will visualize, let's say my new practice is like full of clients, full of people. And how does that make me feel? Oh, I feel happy. I feel wonderful that I'm helping people. Or if we're working out at the farm, like how does it make me feel? So you have to actually stop yourself and then replace the feeling of doubt or the anxiety. You have to go, okay, if I did not have this anxiety feeling right now, I would feel happy. How would happy make my body feel?
Yeah.
How would I feel in my head? How would my stomach feel? How would I, and you retrain yourself.
Yep. Yeah, you have to
It's
retrain. You
learning a
have
new
to.
skill.
You have these stories that keep you in limited belief systems. The way out of a limited belief system is creating a new story for yourself by talking to yourself, by giving yourself something to balance out that story, that old story. So Patricia's got a question.
Okay.
And what if you give in to your old conditioning? Okay. Um,
Well,
if
first of all, if you do, don't beat yourself up for it.
yeah,
And also ask yourself, is it something that you want to change?
yeah, yeah. When we revisit and understanding that when you revisit old spaces, oftentimes, again, this sort of goes in line with what April was asking, like what happens when an old pattern comes back to the surface, right? It's the same thing. Giving in or revisiting old conditioning, old patterns means that usually what's going on is your shadow is bringing something up and is pushing you and trying to motivate you to re-engage in an old pattern because you are actually close to changing. And it's not necessarily giving into old conditioning, it's the fact that it is coming up, you have more clarity, and you are bringing, I mean, the simple fact that you can articulate, what happens if you give into old conditioning, the simple fact that you are articulating that question means that you are observing it. When you observe an old pattern, an old story, you change it. The more you observe, the more you let yourself feel and just observe and witness the old feelings and the old stories, the more you change it. This is why learning how to listen to the body, taking the time to listen to the body and all the feelings that go with an old pattern is actually really important. And oftentimes when an old pattern comes to the surface, you are actually witnessing your old self dying, the old pattern dying. But your ego and your shadow will try and make you believe that it's more important than that, that more is going on. And your ego and shadow will try and convince you that you aren't making progress, that you are not actually changing.
Yeah, it'll try to convince you that you're not changing when you actually are. Because if an old pattern, let's say, comes up with a vengeance where it
Yep.
seems like really intense, that's usually because you're on the verge of like it's letting it go for good. And it'll be like a really strong, last kick at the
Every
can, so to
Yes,
speak.
exactly. Every single time I have gotten to a new threshold, my shadow has pulled up old behavior, has tried to motivate me or push me to do stupid things or say stupid things or not hear or not understand. Um, Whenever I am actually really close to a new threshold, my shadow will go super hard at trying to convince me that everything is wrong, that I'm unhappy, that all this other stuff, like it'll just dredge up all emotions. And sometimes it's absolutely ridiculous. It's like, what's that got to do with anything? Like, I'll literally be feeling these things going, where is this coming from? I was like, that was like from grade six. Why? Why is this suddenly like a part of my consciousness? And the old stories are a reflection of the old spaces. So we will have to look at those old spaces, when we get to a new space. And oftentimes, when we are on the threshold or when we actually have stepped into a new space, the old stories surface even harder because your shadow and your ego are unhappy that you are actually making progress and you are actually changing. So your ego and your shadow will work double time to convince you that you're wrong, that you're unhappy, that nothing's working. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you believe it. And this is we're so used to being convinced of these negative stories that we fail to realize, or we not fail, but we miss understanding and seeing our own strength and seeing our own faith and
Hmm.
conviction
Yeah.
and moving forward.
Because we can, when we have room inside of us that we're growing and we've let go of an old pattern or an old story, our nervous system's calmed down. You can feel kind of empty,
Yep.
like sometimes where you feel like something's missing. You can literally feel like there's a part of you that's missing. And that sometimes doesn't feel comfortable. And your ego or your shadow might want to fill it with something. And it might go, oh, let's like go through the Rolodex of stories and let's see. Or, or it'll,
Well,
try
and,
to,
and this is your
right.
shadow trying to
Yeah.
sabotage your progress.
Yeah. Because it's really, we always talk, or people talk about wanting to get to a neutral space,
Yep.
right? But our ego doesn't like neutrality. So when
Can't
you're
stand it.
letting go of things and you're kind of in that middle space between the the real new space, the happy place that you're going to be in after you've let go of something, and you're kind of in that middle space, that's when you have to be really vigilant about what your mind is trying to do or what your shadow is trying to do, what stories are coming out, because it's that's the tricky part, is because then it's like you can, like, I know, I'm sure you felt that too. I know I felt like that, where I'll let go of something, I'm like, wow, what do I do with myself now that I don't
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you honestly feel like you're like, wow, my brain I kept myself busy with that.
Yeah, no,
Like that
exactly. Yeah.
energy can keep you very
Yeah.
busy, like, and
So
tired from
so
letting go.
again,
Yep.
another question
Okay.
is like, so it's not self-sabotaging, is it? Um, your ego and your shadow will always want to sabotage your progress. It's your ego and your shadow that are at work, that are trying to convince you that you're sabotaging yourself when it's really them. So this is where we get into the space of understanding the feelings in our bodies and the origins of motivations based on ego and shadow decisions. If there's fear, anger, anxiety, judgment behind any of the motivation,
Hmm.
which is generally, normal human motivation, then it's ego and shadow.
Well, and another good question to ask yourself too is, when you have an old story come up or you feel like you're repeating a pattern,
Yep.
ask yourself if there's a part of you that feels like it needs to be punished.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we keep those stories going unknowingly because there's a part of us that feels like we deserve to be in pain,
Yep.
that we don't deserve to let go of the past,
Hmm.
that we don't deserve to change.
Hmm.
And at our last workshop, I think I spoke about it briefly, that there was something that I had come up where I had these memories that were coming up of, oh gosh, I was in my early 20s, I guess, when I had a new job. And when you're in your early 20s, like, a lot, right? You'd graduate university,
Yep.
things, but there's so much more at that time in your life. I'm sure most people can relate, is that you just don't know what life's going to bring to you yet, and you
Yep.
don't know all the knowledge and the wisdom that you're going to have.
Yep.
And sometimes when you're new at things, and it doesn't even matter how old you are, you can be new at something,
Mhm.
you make mistakes and you learn, but you learn from those mistakes. But sometimes we hold on to the memories of those mistakes as a way of not, so we don't repeat it. But then
Yep.
we're also holding on to the energy as a way, like maybe it was a mistake that you made that might have inadvertently hurt someone and you didn't mean to, but because you think you hurt someone, now you're holding on to that memory because you think, well, if I let go of that pain, then, I might repeat it.
Yeah.
But except you're not, because
Yeah.
you've already learned from it.
Mm.
So sometimes we hold on to these memories and these emotions because as a way of punishing ourselves, because we think that, well, I deserve to be punished, because if I'm not punished, I'm going to repeat it.
Yeah.
And that could also be from conditioning, from upbringing. Like,
Cultural
there are some
family upbringing.
generations
Yeah.
where punishment was, that's how we learned things. We
Yeah.
got punished,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes we hold on to that idea without knowing that we're punishing ourselves, or that we feel like there's a part of us that deserves to be punished. But just to finish, my thing was that I realized that literally this place where I used to work does not physically exist. The only place that it existed was in my head. So I had to let go of anything that I was holding on to from then, because it doesn't even exist except as a fictional place in my head.
Yeah.
So I started, my thing was I took the memories and I pictured myself crumpling them up like pictures and then throwing them into a violet fire, which is a violet fire of transmutation, because I didn't need those anymore. I'm not the same person. Like that was, 30 some odd years ago. I don't need to continually poke at myself to remind me,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, constantly going back into old stories. You're absolutely right. Like a lot of times, I mean, especially in the Western world, we have the
Mhm,
oh, here we go. We got some
mhm.
more. Do from Hugh. Now I see that the old pattern trying to surface occasionally, and I now pay no attention to it. Like, yeah, right, not going there. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it is like turning off like a light switch. It's like you see it. Oh, the light's on. We don't need it. Click, turn it off.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't waste the energy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Patricia's asking or sharing. I sometimes see the other person reacting based on the old pattern that I let go of. It's a reminder, correct? Yes, but it's also when you change, when you actually let go of a pattern, it takes other people who are so used to you in that pattern and relating to you through that pattern, it will take them time to adjust that you do not engage in that pattern or in that type of interaction anymore. Um, Good connection. We did get punished when we were, yeah, yeah. So again, like looking at your history, your personal history is really, really important. Going back into your past is super, super important. Um, I know that there's a lot of thought leaders out there right now who are talking about or emphasizing, being in the moment, being present in the moment, and that the past is irrelevant, but it's not. The past has all of your information, has all of the keys to the present. You cannot be present in the present moment without actually understanding your past and understanding all the stories, uncovering all the stories. And yeah, like again, the culture that we grew up in, the culture that our parents are from, the culture that we lived in as kids, the culture we live in now as adults, the city even, the region, the actual geographic region that we live in, either mountains or river valley or plains or a combination of those two, actually has a psychological effect on us as humans. And it's really important to, one of the things that you can do is you can look up pictures of mountains, see how you feel. Look up pictures of prairies, see how you feel. Look up pictures of rivers, see how you feel. Use those types of experiments as a baseline for understanding how you feel based on your response and not anyone else's. And that's something that I did as I grew up. I mean, God bless my grandparents and National Geographic. They had like 40 years of National Geographic that I got to look through as a kid, and I would listen to all the emotions that were evoked from all the pictures and all the stories
Mm.
and listen to what was going on in my body and how that made me feel and why. And as I grew in my understanding of my connection to my body, and I would take back and step out of patterns of behavior, like, I mean, one of the big things was, with my family and politics and talking about, doing a lot of political work for a really long time, but stepping out of some of the uses of anger and judgment. in my family, verbal dialogue was really, really huge, and not participating and judging others with my family, jumping on that bandwagon and going, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and gossiping about other people was a really huge thing and really changed the family dynamic. And if you're not fitting into a family pattern or a social pattern, you know what? So what? It's your life. What matters most is your happiness. What matters most is your evolution. What matters most is you being healthy mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's what matters most. That's what's most important. And again, understanding that even judgment and anger in family dialogue or gossiping dialogue, it's just a story. It's a pattern. It's an easy way to interact with other people is by joining them in their story, joining them in their pattern instead of actually accepting that you're different. I mean, it's something that I've still learning about, still spending time understanding that I'm really different, which is okay.
Yeah, and I think that's an assumption that people make is because we're all here and we have a collective agreement about certain things,
Yeah.
that even when you're in friendships or relationships, we sometimes forget that your story is different than my story
Yep.
or your reality. Like even people that live in the same household, his reality is different than mine because we're two different beings.
Yep.
We share what we feel in our own reality, and for some of it, we, kind of share the same reality,
Yeah.
but also not really because we are different people.
Yep.
We had a different upbringing. We had a
Very, very
different,
different. Yeah.
yeah. So it's even to remember. That's why, well, another discussion about communication, but that's why communication is so important too. So
Yeah,
we
because
should.
it's understanding those differences that actually, through communication, understanding the differences, even though you're sharing the same reality, and we are, like, we're all sharing the same reality. We're all here on this planet. Some of us are, living together. Some of us are working together. Some of us are playing together, in sports, are going to the gym together, being around. Like, I've spent decades, working out and training, and the way I do one movement with a barbell, it will be completely, it's just completely unique to me. But everyone goes and uses the same barbell, does the same movement, but everyone's experience is absolutely and utterly unique. And that is something that we have to respect. And that's the whole point of actually evolving and accepting ourselves, is accepting that we are unique and our experiences and our needs are absolutely completely unique to ourselves.
Mhm. Well, thanks everyone. It's been an hour. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for everyone joining us. We will move to the meditation.
Yep.
So we'll do that.
Yep.
Speaking of embodiment, you were actually going to do the definition of embodiment,
Yes.
right?
I have a definition.
He found a good one. What was
Oops.
your, I don't know
Where's
where
the
you put
definition?
it.
There we go. Embodied spirituality refers to a lived experience of spirituality that is grounded in the body, that we physically experience. And a lot of times we get confused with a process being our spiritual experience because we're so mentally active all the time as humans, when really the information that we receive from the outside world has to go through our body into our nervous system before it gets to our brain. So it's actually our physical body that is interpreting all of the information around us. Spirituality is really about physical awareness, is really about personal, spatial, but physical embodied awareness. And a lot of the ancient traditions, they talk about this, but in the West, we have this thing where we, like, because we had the Renaissance in Europe, and all the intellectuals and all the philosophers were huge, we're still dealing with the after effects of, like, Voltaire and Descartes and all those other people postulating intellectually about all of these concepts of reality. And at the time, what people don't realize is, at the time, you couldn't talk about the body. It was, between the religious and the philosophical and just the cultural norms at the time. It was not something that was understood or even accepted to be in normal conversation. and we're still dealing with that. So this is,
Right.
why we're
Hmm.
trying to share with people about actual physical embodiment from our both of our backgrounds in physical discipline.
Yeah, and taking the concepts and then making them your physical reality
Yep.
to embody them. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the meditation part. So everyone get comfortable where you are. If you want to lay down, you may do that. If you are sitting, please try to put your feet flat on the floor if you can, with your legs not crossed. Just get comfortable in your chair or laying down. And when you're ready, close your eyes and start taking nice, deep, slow breaths and just relaxing more into your physical body. Feel the muscles in your body relax. We're going to start at the top of the head. With each breath that you take, try to inhale a little more slowly and then exhale a little more slowly. Just slowing everything down. This time is for you. This time is for you to relax, to connect with your physical body, and to connect with your unique life stream. Feel the top of your head relaxing. Warm golden energy relaxing, washing down over your forehead and the back of your head and the sides of your head, relaxing your ears, relaxing the muscles in the back of your neck, relaxing your throat, breathing in deeply, exhaling slowly, feeling that warm wave of relaxation coming down over you, down over your shoulders, down the front of your chest, down your back, your shoulder blades, all the way down your back to your pelvis, all the way down through your solar plexus in your abdomen. Your pelvis is relaxing. Your arms are relaxed. Feel all the muscles in your body relaxing even more with each breath. Feel that warm golden light traveling down the front of your legs, down the back of your legs, through your knees, down your calves, the front of your legs, all the way down to your feet, to the tips of your toes. Inhale and exhale, relaxing more where you are, feeling your body relaxed, more relaxed than it's been. Imagine a golden pool of light at your feet. Visualize this light traveling down into Mother Earth, all the way down into Mother Earth, until you reach the crystalline core of the earth. Feel yourself connect with that supportive, loving, warm energy from Mother Earth. And slowly bring that energy back up to your feet. Feel that warm, loving energy swirling around your feet, traveling up your body, enveloping you like a blanket. Every cell in your body, all of your energy, feeling relaxed, feeling at peace, feeling in harmony. I'm going to take you on a little journey. Some of you might even see this as a little story. However you envision this or feel it is totally up to you. Imagine that you are standing at the end of a hallway. This is the hallway of truth. As you look down this hallway, you'll see a door at the very end. That door is a door to a place of your choosing, in which you will feel comfortable and safe. We're going to begin to move toward the door as you walk down the hallway of truth. This hallway transmutes any untrue belief, experience, and emotion that you have ever had. Any belief, experience, and emotion that did not feel loving was a distortion of truth based on the belief systems of the people from which they came. So here and now is the place and time to release any and all beliefs that are untrue. As you move towards the door, let them go. Let them evaporate into the hallway. As you come closer to the end, you can see your door more clearly. This door keeps out any messages that are not positive. Study the door before you. You might see your name, symbols, colors, or a picture. Whatever is there is meant for you. Take a moment and absorb whatever you're seeing or the message that you're getting. Relax into your knowing. Your body, your subconscious, will understand the message. Your body will interpret its meaning for you. Now look at the doorknob. Remember that behind the door is a place of your choosing, in which you will feel safe and comfortable. No one else is allowed in here unless you invite them. Put your hand on the doorknob. Go ahead and open the door. Step through and close the door behind you. It's just you in here and the sound of my voice. Take a look around this safe place that you can visit anytime you wish by just closing your eyes. This is your place to feel safe and comfortable. It may be real or imagined. Whatever you see, whatever you visualize is yours and yours alone. This is where you feel free and safe to be yourself, free to connect with who you truly are. Look around, feel the joy, enjoy what you see, feeling relaxed, supported, and loved. Now find a place here to sit or lie down, someplace in this place where you will feel comfortable. Connect with the life energy inside of you. Your life energy is unique to you. It is your life energy and belongs completely to you. It is the energy from where you came. Life energy has only one purpose: to help you reach your potential as a human. Your life energy is protective and it is healing. It is healing and protective and loving. Experience that life energy of yours and visualize a light above your head, connected to Source, a light from which issues warm streams of energy, full of codes and symbols meant only for you. This stream of energy flows to you, filling your soul egg, and surrounds you now like an imaginary cocoon, soft and pliable, and that lets you move about and yet protects you. Feel your life stream energy penetrating every cell of the body, surrounding the body. This is your life energy. It represents your true self, your natural self, your essence. It belongs to you and only you. It is protective, it is healing, and it is loving. Within this life stream energy are positive, loving, supportive messages. Feel the positive life energy coursing through every cell of the body, surrounding and protecting you. This life energy has sometimes been expressed within you, perhaps as a still inner voice, words of wisdom inside that are there to guide and protect, or your intuition. That still inner voice is a nurturing part of you, and that nurturing part exists for healing, guiding, and moving through life with you. That nurturing part of you is capable of healing both mind and body. It is capable of helping, healing those parts of you that are not happy, that don't feel good about themselves, and transmuting anything that is untrue. This energy seeks out other parts of you that need support and help to transform, help to become happier, help to become more accepted and supported, and most of all, helping you to feel loved from the inside. Your guides are coming in to help you anchor this energy. Accept them into this safe, comfortable place with you.
In the name of my mighty, beloved, victorious, eternal I Am Presence, I call upon Archangel Shamiel, Jophiel, Zachiel, and Amethyst. I call upon Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Sandalphon, Metatron. I call upon The divine hosts of Elohim of light, I call upon the Elohim of light. Grace, victory, purity, tranquility, peace, hope. I call upon Elohim Hercules, Elohim Arcturus, Diana. I call upon Lord Lanto. I call upon Angelica and Orion. I call upon Elohim, Lady Estrella, Divine Mother Mary, Saint Germain, Lady Prima Donna Nada. And I call upon Serapis Bey, Kathumi, the Koans of the Rays of Creation, Ma Koan of the Rays of Creation. I call upon Elohim Cassiopeia, Cyclopea, Afra Africa, Virginia, and the Brotherhood of Light. I call upon the principalities of light. I call upon the thrones, virtues, dominions, and powers of light. I call upon the seraphim hosts of light and the cherubim hosts of light. Be with us now, be with us now, be with us now. I call upon mighty beloved, victorious, eternal, ascended Master Jesus Christ, Saint Germain, Saint Germain's angels of the violet flame, the violet flame temples over Cuba and throughout the realms of light. I call upon the ascended hosts of light. I call upon the angelic hosts of light. I call upon the Orifim hosts of light of the Rishi Blue Ray, of the divine orders of the Emerald and Diamond Light. I call upon the cosmic beings of light. I call upon the cosmic being hosts of light and cosmic beings of light, Helios and Vesta. I call upon all the gods of the elements, Ares, Thor, Neptune, Lunara, Virgo, and Polar, Prince or Master Zarathustra, Holy Diana. I call upon all the undines of the waters, all the sylphs of the airs, all the gnomes of the earth, all the salamanders of the fires. I call upon all the creators of light and beings of light. I call upon all of our guides and guardians and angelic protectors. Be with us now, be with us now, be with us now. I call upon the mighty beloved, victorious, eternal, ascended masters and our mighty beloved, victorious, eternal I am presences, our higher selves. Beloved, mighty, victorious I am presence, and the beloved, mighty, victorious I am presence in the great central sun, all who are the law of action and life to this whole system of worlds and realities. I command, 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 you come forth and be the law of this physical octave and physical reality across all dimensions, so all may feel your power of cosmic command, which is always victorious in the use of the sacred fire. Charge, 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 and blaze, blaze, blaze your love and feeling of divine alignment and perfection into me and around me and through me, and make me feel your authority and divine guidance and control over all destructive forces in this world forever, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
Breathe in. And as you breathe in, visualize your life stream energy expanding within you, relaxing into more of who you are. Breath is the world bridger, the molecular cohesion that crystallizes spirit into form. Breath is the gift, the miracle of consciousness. As you breathe with this form, allow the breath to resolve all rigidity within your physical body. As you breathe with this form, allow your breath to lift you beyond the parameters of what you think you know. As you breathe with this form, allow your breath to breathe in the vulnerability of trust as an emissary of creation. As you breathe with this form, allow your breath to open the deepest recesses of your inner labyrinth of your quintessential identity, allowing in the light of creation frequency. As you breathe in with this form, allow your breath to take you back to the beginning, to a realm of remembrance. Peace is in the moment. As you breathe in with this form, allow your breath to open your heart to the benevolence of creation beyond time and space, that which is the light. Love is in the moment. With each sacred breath, surrender to creation, Surrender to the solar matrix. Invite and embrace the knowledge and understanding of Source opening to you within you. Awakening the light body within your cerebral cortex. Hear these words and repeat them inside. I am the crystallization of creation. I am an emissary of Source. I honor my body as the manifestation of my spiritual identity. I do this for myself and for all humanity. Taking a nice deep breath in, feeling your life stream energy. We're going to begin to wake up and come back to the surface, carrying that relaxation with you, that supportive, loving energy from Mother Earth and Source with you always. Breathing in, relaxing, exhaling, wiggling your toes, feeling the energy waking up in your legs, wiggling your legs a little bit. With each inhale and exhale, you can stretch your body a little, wiggle your hands, your fingers, begin to move your abdomen a little, your back, and your neck. Inhaling, feeling your own energy, your unique energy that is you, that you are connected to you. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes, or if you've gone to sleep, you can keep sleeping. Thank you for everyone that has joined us today, for asking questions and for joining us in this meditation. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to us on our page. Happy solstice to everyone.
Happy solstice, everybody.
Have a good night.